I swear it's hotter than the sun. I don't think it's actually that warm outside. Like, it's not like 30 degrees or anything. But this room absorbs heat. And I've turned off my fan and closed my window. Because there's stuff happening outside and I actually care about you. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel if you haven't been here before. My name is Debbie and I read a lot of books. And the book I'm talking about today, I enjoyed so much. I absolutely loved it. It's called The Bookshare and it's by Phaedra Patrick. I don't actually know how to pronounce that name. I might have to Google it.
Phaedra.
I was completely wrong. So today's book is The Bookshare by Phaedra Patrick. That is your front cover. I absolutely adore this book. Absolutely adored it and I did not want to put it down. It's in contemporary fiction, family saga, general fiction and humorous fiction, and on ebook it's 400 pages. So there was the first few chapters of another of Phaedra Patrick's books. Anyway, I'm just going to go in and read that blurb to you, if I can find it, because it's all, yeah. Liv Green loves losing herself in a good book. Her everyday reality is less romantic, cleaning houses for people who barely give her the time of day. But when she lands a job housekeeping for her personal hero and mega best-selling author Essie Starling, she can't believe her luck. When Essie dies unexpectedly, Liv is left with an astonishing last wish to complete Essie's last ever novel. To do so, change-averse Liv will have to step away from the fictitious worlds in her head and into Essie's shoes. As she begins to write, she uncovers a surprising connection between the two women, and a secret that will change Liv's life forever. I got little elements of the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo while reading this book, just because you're looking at somebody in the public eye and looking at their history and their connection to the main character. It has some similarities to it. Obviously it's not exactly the same storyline, but it's got similarities, I'll just say that. Whereas this Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, it has this two separate timelines, because you see Evelyn's story in flashbacks. In this book, Liv is getting Essie's history through people that Essie knew. When you first meet Liv, she is early 40s, I think she's around 42 in the book. She has two grown-up sons who are getting ready to go to university. She and her husband are having money issues. She's working a million different jobs as a cleaner, and you kind of find out the story of how Liv got the job with Essie and how Essie's books have influenced Liv's life. It's basically like a series of books about a woman and her adventures and her love story, and it's one of those book series that kind of stays with you, and that's what it's done for Liv. Liv is an aspiring writer. She's written since she was a kid, and you find it in the book that she met Essie when she was younger and always admired her. And it was actually a letter that she wrote, that Liv wrote to Essie, basically just thanking her, I think, for the books and how they've stayed with her, and saying that she was at a bit of a stalemate and that she was needing a job. And then she got a letter back from Essie's assistant saying, "I've come apply for a job and we'll see what happens." And then Essie got the job as the cleaner. And of all the jobs that she has, I think Liv definitely likes the work that she does with Essie more than she does her other jobs. There's two other jobs that you see her doing at the beginning of the book. One is as cleaning at a company where a lot of people look down on her, like she can be cleaning a bathroom, a woman comes in, drops stuff and then just walks out, and there's Essie going, "I wish I had the guts to tell her that she dropped something. I wish I had the guts to stand up to her and just say, here's your rubbish that you just dropped." And then the other one is a family. The parents are basically influencers, and as well as cleaning, she's essentially become the babysitter as well. She's essentially become a nanny in that job. She's not just a cleaner, because the parents will go, "Oh, would you mind looking after the kids?" And that's ultimately become part of her job there. So yeah, when it gets to the point when you find out that Essie has passed away, Liv is in shock, she's very upset, but then Essie's attorney shows up and says, "You're not allowed to tell anybody she's passed away. You're not allowed to tell anyone she's passed away. She's had a will written and she wants you to finish her book." because in the lead up to Essie passing away, she's in the process of writing her last book, and Liv stumbles upon some of the pages and reads them, and Essie catches her reading them and just point blank says, "What do you think?" And Liv says, "It's good, but it feels like you've fallen out of love with the character that you've written, and I think that it could be better," basically. Liv is very blunt in that situation, and Essie actually appreciates that bluntness, and it actually leads to her putting Liv in the will and saying, "I will pay you extra, you will get more money out of my estate, and I want you to rewrite this novel, which is going to be the last ever book under the name Essie Starling." And yeah, throughout the book you see Liv trying to keep that secret, trying to write, seeing the relationship that she has with the attorney, and figuring out what the relationship was between the attorney and Essie. Throughout the writing of this last book, Liv is trying to figure out this main character's true love, and in the process she starts looking at Essie's true love, and she finds things that she wished she didn't know, but at the same time it also allows her to come out of her shell. She ends up going to a book thing overseas where she essentially goes on holiday by herself without her family, and she has this thing of trying to make it seem like Essie's there when she's not, and so throughout the book you're just waiting for the bubble to burst and for somebody to find out. And the biggest thing is this journalist that is hounding Essie and Essie's flat. There's one point when she turns up with flowers, this journalist, and Liv is she's ready to do anything to protect the secret, because she knows that if she doesn't keep it secret by a certain date, she's not going to get the money that she needs to help pay for her son's university and just basically to keep home afloat. And yeah, it was funny, it was heartwarming, and I really was on that thing of just like, is Chloe the journalist going to find out what's going to happen? And like when she's overseas and she's at this book convention thing, and she's there pretending that Essie's there, but then saying she's got a migraine, just like, is somebody going to figure it out? So constantly you're wondering who is going to figure out that Essie is dead before it's supposed to come out. But then you also see Liv coming into her own, and she's doing her own investigating, trying to find out about Essie's life, hoping that by figuring out Essie's life it'll help slot everything into place in regards to writing of the book. She's typing up what Essie's already written, trying to edit it. She's suddenly taken on so much responsibility. And then through that you're also seeing her home life, her relationship with her husband and her husband's sister and the kids and what they're all doing. And she's at this point where she's just like, I am 42 years old and I've suddenly been given all this responsibility in regards to this woman who I looked up to so much, and now she's passed away, and now only me and her attorney know that she's dead. It's such an interesting premise for a book, and it's almost a coming of age story for Liv, finding herself in her 40s, and I think that that's so nice to see, because so much of the time coming of age stories are more about teenagers and people in their early 20s, but the fact is, you can continue to find yourself as you get older. For me, turning 30 was a big thing for me, and that was when I came into my own and started figuring out myself. I feel like I'm going off on a tangent. But yeah, I just adored it. I absolutely adored it, and it's definitely up there in top 10, possibly top 5 books of this year so far. But yeah, it was just brilliant. And there is another one on here by Phaedra Patrick called The Library of the Lost and Found, available June 13th, reserve. Something that I haven't done in a while is gone through and told you like what I do have on here. So there's 4 books that are available to me at the moment. One I've already started, it's Solitaire by Alice Oseman, and then the one after that is Nick and Charlie by Alice Oseman. And then I have got Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid and Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. And then in the ebooks that I've got reserved, I've got the one that I literally just did. I did it on camera. It was The Library of Lost and Found by Phaedra Patrick. And I've also got How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie, because I've just seen this book everywhere and I'm just like, this sounds interesting. And when the first line of the blurb is, I have killed several people, some brutally, others calmly, and yet I currently languish in jail for a murder I did not commit. That sentence by itself lures me in, and I can't wait. At the moment, I'm on a podcast thing rather than an audiobook thing. So there's a couple of podcasts that I am watching and listening to, because some of them have YouTube channels, so they've got the video with them as well. So I've got the Wizards of Waverly pod with Jennifer Stone and David Deluise. I absolutely adore that podcast. I was definitely older when that show came on, but I don't care. It was still so good. And I think it's because it came across more as a family show than just a kids show. And the friendship between Jennifer Stone and David Deluise is just adorable. And I love the fact that as I've done this, the last podcast about Wizards of Waverly Place had like about a 20-minute tangent about Nicolas Cage, which I thought was hilarious. And yeah, I didn't care that they weren't talking about Wizards of Waverly Place, because it was just seeing David's face light up as he talks about Nicolas Cage and how much he adores him. Yeah, and then I'm also listening to the Vulnerable podcast by Chrissy Carson Romano. I'm listening to the Books Unbound podcast with Ariel Bissett and Raylene LeMay. Every single episode I like screen grab the details, because in the details of every episode they have a list of the books they talk about, and there's always a few books they talk about when I'm just like, that's like my TBR list. TBR. But yeah, I absolutely love listening to them talking about books and the recommendations they make, and I'm just there going, yeah, I'm going to put that on my list of things to read. Yes. Also watching basically all of Rachel Ballinger's podcasts. So you've got All Things Internet, Uncensored. Is there another one in there? I'm sure there is. And then every so often I also watch Colleen Ballinger and Eric Stocklin's podcast as well. But yeah, so I'm on a podcast thing at the moment, and I'm quite enjoying it. Yeah, so that's all the books, that's all the podcasts I'm listening to. I absolutely adore this book. I think it took me about 2-3 days to read it. Every single time I put it down, I did not want to put it down. This was like me at work, reading it between like treatments and stuff, and I was just like going, I need this book. I need this book. I think this is one I might have to buy just so I've got it in my personal collection. At the moment, I'm dreaming of my own place and my own wall of books. That's what I want. There is your front cover. Just, I loved it. I loved it so much. If you hadn't noticed, you've got a slightly different... Before I used to sit on the floor for this, but I got a new tripod. And this is the shortest it goes. It's essentially a selfie stick, I think, but it's the thing on top because it has an extra bit somewhere. So I've got this bit so that I can put my phone on it if I want to, but without it, because you've got that circly bit, it means all my cameras fit on top of it, which is great. Anyway, so if anybody else has read this book, please let me know what you thought. Do you agree with my comparisons to The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo? It's not exactly the same, but I just saw the similarities in it as I was reading it, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you next time with another video. Stay safe, everyone.